So what happened? Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous, while Mr. Rel survived for a short time. From this, it is obvious that Mr. Faraday died after he shot Mr. Rel. And Mr. Rel, while on the brink of death, stole Mr. Faraday's knife and stabbed him. Those are the facts of this case. No, they're not. Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous. Therefore, he must have attacked first. Proving that logic to be false is probably the fastest way to show that she was wrong. In that case, I should first look for any holes in her theory. So, how am I gonna attack this? Let's see. So, instantaneous. Obviously that Mr. Faraday died after he shot Rel. Was on the brink of death. Alright, so this we can't really dispute. We know that to be true. Died after he shot. So, how can I present this? I think I'm gonna say he couldn't have stolen the knife because he was shot from a couple yards away. I'm also gonna save my state. No, I was wrong. And where, pray tell, would that contradiction be? Maybe nowhere? Exactly. Yeah. Could I have it all wrong? At this rate, I'll lose the truth for all eternity. I need to pay more attention to her testimony. Let's see. Let's see, it has the 2. Shot from the stabbing caused instantaneous death, suggesting he was shot. Maybe it's the fact that Mr. Rel... Maybe it's how the bodies fell. That's what I'm gonna suggest now. Nope, that's still wrong. I'm doing terrible so far. Let's try and figure this out with logic. Yeah, I sometimes struggle a bit with some of this. Oof. So, I'm gonna skip to the end, see if I can get some testimonial hint. There's something strange about Fransizka's theory. I should compare her claim with the data I've gathered so far. Oh wait, I'm so stupid. I just have to point out that Mr. Faraday probably didn't shoot him. Duh. Which do I use to prove this? Not the pen. Strat. Okay. So it's not that. Not if you're not gonna win if I abuse the power of time travel and reloading my save state. Okay. Died after Hmm. Hmm. Maybe point out that there wasn't a struggle? Nope. I am but a fool. Trying to understand all these foolish answers. Hmm. Maybe that the blood's on here, but there's no other blood first? No. Hmm. Okay, things we can discard as evidence. The incident. Didn't hear sign of a struggle. Nope. I'm gonna die. Dread. This is really a tough one for me. I think that's all I could have done. Do you have any basis for that statement? Your foolishness has no end, does it? Now I hate to repeat myself, however. Mr. Faraday died instantaneously. That's all the basis I need. Alright, so if Mr. Faraday died instantly, then he must have attacked Mr. Rell before being stabbed. You're finally beginning to catch on, I see. So you believe that the dying Mr. Rell stole the knife from Mr. Faraday. Mr. Rell became desperate as he did not want to die. Human beings can do amazing things when they are put to the test. So the two men struggled, and in the end, Mr. Rell was able to grab the knife and stab Mr. Faraday. The messy contradiction of this room is a testament. Messy condition of this room is a testament to their struggle. Yes, my logic is perfectly sound. Can you really say that it's perfect? What are you insinuating? Nothing. However, I can't let what you said slide by without further inquiry. Oh! Drat, I needed more testimony. Yeah, I lost too much health there, so... Oh man, look! My health bar is full again. Wow, how did that happen? Oh. Well, you know, I'm gonna use my brain smarts to figure out how to do this. Okay. Now we can... dispute this. I'm gonna say this is the main dispute. Because the bags are like something we'll bring up afterwards. If the two men were fighting, The struggle would have surely caused quite a bit of noise. However, Detective Gumshoe testified that he heard absolutely nothing. Ah, you place too much faith in that detective's testimony, you know. But for the sake of argument, let's say there wasn't a fight. How then did Mr. Rell get his hands on the knife? Mr. Faraday's bag was sitting right here in lobby number 2. It is not hard to imagine that perhaps Mr. Rell saw a chance and took it out at some point. So, what you're saying is this. Mr. Rell took a chance when he saw the opportunity and took the knife from the bag. And then Mr. Faraday shot Mr. Rell after being stabbed? Isn't there something strange in Fransizka's statement just now? Yeah, that couldn't have happened because Faraday died automatically. Wait, something doesn't add up. Oh, really? It's simply not possible for Mr. Faraday to have shot Mr. Rell after being stabbed. Where's the autopsy report? There. I really hope nothing can be heard on my stream. I hope they did. I hope they heard that. According to the coroner's report, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously, meaning that he died immediately upon being stabbed by the knife. Ergo, he could not possibly have fired the gun after that. Oh, you got me. I mean, we're the ones who... She was only proposing that off of our idea. But of course. Well then, if the report is correct, then there is only one correct explanation. If we suppose that Mr. Rell attacked first, then Mr. Faraday, who died instantaneously, would have been unable to kill Mr. Rell. Therefore, Mr. Rell must have stabbed Mr. Faraday after he was shot. Then they both died. That is the only explanation that makes logical sense. Negating your opponent's ideas in order to prove your own theory. I see you've been studying, Fransizka. I just wanted to explain it to you as simply as possible. Ooh, savage. She is such a savage little kid. And before you foolishly propose a foolish theory, like she's gotta be like a middle schooler. Not even in high school. Before you foolishly propose a foolish theory that only a foolish fool like you could. How naive of you to believe that only your opinions are valid. Yeah, you heard that, Fransizka, you're not valid. And still expect to discover the truth that the crime scene offers you. Fransizka, you've still got a ways to go. Ryoma vibes. But what are you talking about? Are you saying there's a flaw in my logic? Mr. Faraday died instantly. And the fact that he did is what gives rise to the contradiction in this scene. That he's not the one first on the ground? The contradiction here is this crime scene. The order the bodies fell. Let me get this straight. What you are arguing is this. Mr. Faraday took the gun from his evidence bag and shot Mr. Rell. Then, the wounded Mr. Rell found an opportunity to take the knife and strike back. Upon being stabbed, Mr. Faraday died on the spot, and Mr. Rell died thereafter. If that's the case, then how do you explain this? Take a good look at the order in which their bodies are piled. Yeah, see, I said that before. No. Mr. Faraday's body is lying on top of Mr. L's. Therefore, Mr. L must have died before Mr. Faraday, or their bodies were positioned like that and someone messed up the crime scene. Someone got in here. There's a window that hasn't been opened. Impossible. Yes, I agree it seems strange no matter what angle you approach it from. Which means that the real mystery behind this crime scene... Oh, no, not so fast. Miles Edgeworth. What now? I simply think that you ought to think a bit more outside of the box. And that it's even clearer now that the incident started with Mr. Faraday's murderous intent. She sure bounced back quickly. I mean, because Fransizka's pretty cool. An explanation won't be enough this time. It's gonna take some very decisive evidence to prove her wrong. Okay, how are we gonna beat this? Let's find out. It was just chance that Mr. Faraday's body fell on top of Mr. L's. That's not decisive evidence either. The two bodies fell into a pile, which indicates that they attacked each other at the same time. It really doesn't matter in the slightest that they fell in the opposite order. Couldn't have attacked each other at the same time. There's no gunpowder. I just know that Fransizka's explanation isn't absolutely correct. All I have to do is find a hole in her logic. Once I do, I can then present her with the evidence that proves the contradiction. So they couldn't have attacked each other at the same time is what I'm going with. Nonsense. Was fired from a few yards away. No! That does prove it. You can't attack each other at the same time up close. Or at a distance. I think my objection was very valid. What do you mean by they attacked each other at the same time? I assume that Mr. Faraday had two different weapons in his hands. He made to attack Mr. Bell while holding both the knife and revolver. You know, as people do. Two-handing a ranged weapon and a melee weapon. And then, after Mr. Faraday fired from the gun, Mr. Bell grabbed the knife as he was falling and stabbed Mr. Faraday as he was falling. That is how Mr. Bell wound up on the bottom with Mr. Faraday on top. At close range, that is more than possible. Well, it wasn't at close range. You goof. Yes, it's possible, but... Well, if you have any other ideas, then show me what you've got. Oh, I will. And to that extent, I'd like you to append what you just said to your testimony. I don't see any point to that, but as you please. I'm always done in by the pressing first. Bam. See, that's like most of my problem is I'm like, oh, I gotta work with what's in front of me, but no, I gotta press instead. So you believe they killed each other at close range? Sorry, but that's not possible. Just as it is written in the crime scene notes, the firing of the handgun did not leave a gunpowder burn on Mr. Rell's clothes. Therefore, Mr. Rell and the gun must have been separated by a distance of at least 2 or 3 yards. Ah! Yes, this is by far the biggest contradiction. Miles has gone into this and he's like, I almost threw hands with a 13-year-old. The two bodies are piled up on each other, yet the gun was fired from a distance. And with there being no chance that Mr. Rell moved that far after being shot, that leaves only one possible explanation. What a completely foolish line of foolish thought from a thoroughly foolish fool! If I'm not right, then who was it that made the first move with the intent to kill, huh? Who? Neither man. Here in this room, contradictions appear no matter which man we claim attacked first. Thus, there can be only one explanation. There was a third person here. They're a narrator. In fact, they're speaking of everything from a pronoun perspective from a perspective that is none of ours. More like an omniscient reader. It was that third person who killed both Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell, and set their bodies up to make it look like a double murder. The third person is the true culprit. Miles Edgeworth, there's just one thing you're missing. Evidence, correct? Exactly. Everything you said up until now is nothing but a story played out in your head. However, this is where the real test begins. Can you prove that there was a third person involved in this case? Of course. If a third person was truly here, that fact would resolve a glaring contradiction. The proof that this has all been a setup, made to look like they killed each other. I'll present it and lay bare the final piece of the puzzle that's not yet in place. I almost want to say the pen. But it might be the bags. Oh, it was both. Okay, I was okay. The gun in Mr. Faraday's hands, and the plastic bag with his blood on it. These two items point to the presence of a third person. How so? Recall Detective Gumshoe's testimony? Yeah, I was in the hallway the whole time, but I didn't hear a single peep of a struggle. If there wasn't a struggle in this room, then there shouldn't be any plastic bags on the ground, meaning that someone else must have deliberately scattered them around. Do you not see the possibility in this? Disregarding the gun for a moment, there's a high probability of blood splatter when a knife is used on a person. If the culprit held the knife with a plastic bag around it, they could use the bag to catch any blood splatter from when they withdrew the knife. Oof. Then by spreading a few more plastic bags around, mixing the bloody one in with them. I mean, like, they did a really bad job of hiding it. It was like one really bloody bag amongst like 4 other bags. I noticed it immediately. and arranging the room to make it look like there was a struggle between the two, they were able to conceal their presence. Ah! Looks like we've still got a long way to go in this investigation. Yes. Objection? Objection. What the heck's up with you, pal? Mr. Bad, I advise you to place Detective Gumshoe under arrest. No! Not Gumshoe! What? No! They're arresting Gumshoe! You're right! Not again! Why does this keep happening? What's the meaning of this? Huh. Looks like you're not man enough to discipline your own subordinates. Don't you dare! That detective claims he was standing there, in front of the door the entire time. But I have it on good authority that it was all a giant lie. Miss Yu, I asked that you explain that last statement. I'll let His Honor explain it himself. I don't trust the judge. I don't trust the judge to give me a correct testimony. If I'm placing the judge who mistook a piece of cardboard as a badge versus Gumshoe, I'm gonna pick Gumshoe. I saw it with my own eyes, I tell ya. During the recess, there was a period of time when there was no one in the hallway. What? You see, Mr. Bad? So I ask you, why would a detective who was supposedly doing his job the whole time want to fabricate such a lie? Gumshoe, did you kill Faraday? No! Of course not, sir. It would appear that the one who set this whole crime scene up is that detective, which basically renders his testimony a complete lie and wholly invalid. It looks like your perfect logic has just come tumbling down, Miles. Yeah. Thought I was in the hallway the whole time, but I didn't hear a single peep of a struggle. Is that statement really a lie? Detective Gumshoe, you're now a suspect in the murder of 2 men. Now spit out the truth, or so help me. I haven't lied to anyone, sir. Honest. I was really there. I was in the hallway the whole time. Hold it. Detective Bad, I ask that you please do not act without my permission. I'm the one in charge here. After all, I am the one that is heading this investigation, am I not? Don't talk like you know what's going on, boy. Oh, I'm getting smug. All I want is for this investigation to run perfectly. Perfection is the only wish of a disciple of Von Karma, after all, and it's not obtainable, and I hate Von Karma. I will never stop saying this. He's awful. Like a truly awful old man who's evil. Therefore, before you can take Detective Gumshoe into custody, I'd like to set the record straight on something. And what's that? What should I ask Detective Gumshoe about? Let's say... Well, let me check. Do I have a map? No. 'Cause what if it was like during a different recess? Maybe I'll ask the state of the hallway? But I don't think he's lying. Detective Gumshoe, I take it that no one else was in the hallway at any time, correct? Huh? Of course not, pal. You're being awfully defensive. Might you be hiding something from me? Watch your mouth, pal. You can't go around saying stuff like that about me without any evidence. I suppose you're right. I have no evidence at this point. Miles Edgeworth, how can you be losing a battle of wits against this detective? You're a disgrace. Ouch. Yeah. Maybe I should ask about something else. I guess ask why he wasn't in the hallway. Detective Gumshoe, why were you missing from the hallway for a span of time? Look, pal, like I said, I was there the whole time, okay? But there is testimony against you. Miles Edgeworth, why are you wasting our time with such a useless, completely useless question? The only logical reason as to why he was absent is that he was busy committing the crime. Anyone who says otherwise is a fool. Maybe you should ask about something else. I guess I'm asking about motive. I suppose the one thing I would like clarified is Detective Gumshoe's motive for committing this murder. Motive, huh? Gumshoe, you had a grudge against Faraday or anything? No, sir. Not me. Not a single bad thing against Mr. Faraday, sir. Is that a fact? You really have a problem with lying, don't you, Detective Gumshoe? I'm telling you, I am not lying. The more unnatural you act, the more suspicious you become, you know. If you want a motive, Edgeworth, I have one for you right here. What is your motive you're giving? Could you please share it with us? However, be forewarned that I won't hesitate to object to flights of fancy. Because all I'm interested in is the perfect explanation. You're serious, aren't you? Fine. You amuse me. I'll humor you with a little courtroom practice. It was about a week ago. A week ago. I saw the detective get chewed out by a livid Faraday in front of the precinct. He stood there, super pale, as Mr. Faraday yelled, "That's a salary cut for you, you nitwit." A brand new detective, settling in his salary cut. That's reason enough for a grudge. Man, if Gumshoe held a grudge for his paycheck getting cut, there would be no prosecutors. There would be none. They would all have gone the way of Faraday. Well, how's that for the perfect explanation? You totally misunderstand me, pal. No matter how mad I get, I could never hold a grudge. Quiet. We can't trust anything you say. wrong with the motive she proposed per se, but there are some gaps in her logic that need to be filled. Miss Yu's perfect explanation may not be so perfect at all. Alright. Like, I don't have things connected to that. You just stood there, watching this unfold in front of you? Yeah, I have to say it was really enjoyable too. But that's why when I saw Detective Gumshoe earlier, I knew to stay clear of him. No way. I thought it was because I had something stuck on my face. But you do. Huh? What if I got stuck on my face? Let's start with your eyes, nose, mouth. Oh, and those ridiculous eyebrows. Huh? I like that it looks like he's trying to look at them. Oh man, messing with your head is just too much fun. Miss Yu, if you don't mind, I'd like to return to your testimony now. Shh. Why not? So, that didn't yield anything. I accidentally reread that one. Whoops. Alright. I think I'll press here. To cut a new detective's salary right off the back like that. That sounds like something I would do. I'm not really familiar with the way you guys relate, but is that a common practice? Speaking of cutting my salary, didn't you threaten to do that to me earlier too? I suppose I did. Like, honestly, why do they do that so often? It's only natural to cut a worthless detective's salary down to their actual worth. No, minimum wage. Unionize. My father can even fire anyone, new or old, with the snap of his fingers, except for Detective Bad. Do you think maybe that's reason enough for detectives to hate you people? Well, I guess. They really shouldn't cut people's pay. Yeah, I agree with that. Eat the rich. Down with the evil prosecutors. Detective Bad, don't tell me Mr. Von Karma cut your salary earlier. Let me see more on that. Mr. Faraday was upset? No, I didn't click it. Yeah, you know what else? Mr. Faraday isn't exactly known to get angry often. But there he was, totally beat red in the face. Ahem. And the offending detective just stood there, pale as a ghost, like he was about to die. Just like the face he's making now, right? I'm completely innocent, I tell ya. The poor man. It was quite the scene with the detective. What am I supposed to? It was about a week ago. A week ago. Then you and Detective Gumshoe are acquaintances? No way. I only met him in person today. Then, how did you know about Detective Gumshoe? Oh, I've seen him around before. Okay, what am I supposed to contradict? There's like no contradiction I can see that I would have any info on. Detective Gumshoe certainly had a motive to kill Mr. Faraday. However, there is just one thing I can't wrap my head around in this explanation. I'll just have to force Miss Yu to explain for herself fully. I missed it. So... Any ideas, loopholes, on what I might not be noticing? Because I have no idea. Just none at all. Like... My brain isn't working either. That's why I need help. Maybe if we use our two brains, it'll be like a negative and a negative, which will make a positive, which will give us one brain to work with. I don't know anything. You call your explanation perfect. Is it not to your liking? Yes. It'll help me find something to refute her logic. Unfortunately for you, it's just not up to my standards. Oh? Is there something you want me to clarify in that case? Oh. Ow. Maybe it wasn't that I could object anything. Motive for killing Mr. Rell? I understand Detective Gumshoe's potential motive for killing Mr. Faraday. However, what about his motive for killing Mr. Rell? His motive for killing Rell? Like I would know. If there was no clear motive for both the murders, then I doubt this incident would have occurred. Wouldn't you agree? Is there anyone else who might have had a grudge against either of the two men? Should we look into that ourselves? Oh, in that case, I have absolutely no idea. What? That's impossible. She must know something. Wait. Can you please not glare at me like that? It makes me laugh. Sure. I didn't even do anything and you're already laughing away. Well, anyway, the way I see it, as long as he had a motive to kill one of the two, this crime would have played out the way it did anyways. Oh? Would you care to explain your logic? And this time, please try to provide a truly perfect explanation. Perfect this, perfect that. Not being so uptight, or is that a requisite trace for being a Von Karma? Miles Edgeworth, I demand you shut this rude woman up. Yeah, this is the sibling bond. Francis is like, mess her up, Edgeworth. I wish you'd both be quiet for just 1 second. Oh well, I guess I'll just have to explain it to you kids. Alright. Motive to kill the men. There's no one out there with a motive to kill both Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell. That's a lie. All you really have to establish is that someone had a grudge against one of the two men. Mr. Rell, who happened to be there, became a witness to Mr. Faraday's murder. Therefore, he was killed out of necessity and set up to look like they had killed each other. So that's a load of baloney. Is there no one out there with a grudge against both men? No. I should take another hard look at the evidence for this morning's case. The second KG8 incident, as people are calling it, involving an embassy staff member. And the two men who both wound up as suspects in the case. Is there someone else I'm overlooking who is somehow related to them? I don't know. Maybe it's you! Her. Like, I don't know. She's just so suspicious so far. I can't trust her. Let me present this man. Miss Yu, I believe there is someone you overlooked making your statement. Oh, rather, is it because you'd rather not bring this person up? What do you mean? We are looking for someone with a reason to kill both Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell. I can think of at least one person that fits that bill. He was the suspect in the original KG8 incident, and a member of the Cadopian embassy staff, Mr. Manny Cochin. Oh, she's struck. That's right, the very man who came to visit you earlier out in the hallway. The man who killed a member of the Cadopian embassy staff, Mr. Rell, and the man who was the lead prosecutor of the KG8 incident, Mr. Faraday. Are you telling me that Mr. Cochin has no reason at all to kill both of these men? Well, I suppose he might have a reason or two. Just two. You covered for me, pal. Maybe you're not such a bad guy after all. But don't get ahead of yourself. You're still a suspect. Make no mistake about that. The perfect evidence, the perfect testimony. These are the only things I wish to hold. But I didn't do it. You will stay under my authority and go investigate Mr. Manny Cochin with me. And remember, I will not be very forgiving. Oh. You want to investigate Cochin? You'd just be wasting your time. Why would I be wasting my time, sir? And why is that? Cochin was up in the viewing gallery, watching the trial. Or so I was told. Every cop in this place has been keeping an eye on the guy since he arrived. And the only real suspect we have is still the Detective Gumshoe. I suppose so. No way. Come on, Detective Bad. You gotta believe me, sir. I believe you, Gumshoe. I really was in that hallway the whole time, sir. I never took a single step into this room, sir. Okay, then are you saying there was someone else who passed through the hallway? No, there was no one else, sir. Then why should I believe you didn't do it? That is one incredibly foolish detective. Sure hope I won't have to work with him in the future, and then she does. Standing right in front of a crime scene all by himself. It's as good as a confession of guilt. I have to admit it's a bit strange. Most criminals will fabricate some sort of lie to escape their crimes. And if that detective really wanted to prove that he is innocent, you'd think he would at least offer up a high spaced up while on duty or the like. Come on, Gumshoe. Time for your interrogation. No! They're taking him from me again! Detective Bad? You're bad at your job. Miles Edgeworth, I will go on ahead and report this to Papa. And that, as they say, is that. Right, everyone? Ho ho ho! No, it's not it. There's more. Well, I suppose we should both be getting back to our real jobs now, huh? Before we do, Miss Yu, there's something I'd like to speak with you about. What is it? Oh, I guess I'm talking to her. No, speak with me. To have set these two men up and make it look like they killed each other. There's one thing I cannot forgive. It's the desecration of the dead. Oof, that hits home. So, what did you want to ask me about? Oh, oops. I've heard that people have begun calling it the second KG8 incident. Only among you law enforcement types. And what about it? I'd like for you to tell me everything you know about the original KG8 incident. I'm afraid I can't help you. I don't know anything beyond what was reported in the papers. That's a lie. No, I believe you know much more, since you are directly tied to the KG8 incident. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop with the false accusations. Faceless outbursts are useless both inside and outside the courtroom, don't you know? I do, but I also know that I do have a leg to stand on here. I think you could stop making that ultra-serious face in front of me. Ugh. If you could please stop your laughing for just 1 second. I'm not gonna make any headway like this. I'm just gonna have to show her exactly how related to the KG8 incident she is. Take this. Miss Yu, I believe that I have proof of your connection to the KG8 incident. That file is your proof? Very well then. Why don't you tell me exactly how I'm related to the KG incident? Through the victim. Your connection to the KG8 incident is through the victim. What if they just happen to have the same last name? Like, I know that's not gonna happen in a mystery game, but what if they just did? And this was very embarrassing. The victim's name is CCU. You will note that she has the same last name as you. Can you really still tell me with a straight face that you are not related to this case? Sorry, but we're not related. What? Just kidding. You asked that question with such a serious look on your face that I couldn't help but laughing. Miss Yu, I ask that you please tell me the truth. Ahem. Alright, I'll tell you everything I know. Tell me. As you guessed, the one who reported the smuggling activities of the Yamano group was my sister, CCU. As I thought. And she was killed right before she was to testify at the impending trial by Manny Cochin. But because he was tried once and was acquitted, he gets to live out the rest of his life, of his cushy life, completely carefree. All because of a lack of evidence. And now, I heard that the evidence to convict him did exist. What? I heard it from Mr. Faraday himself after Mr. Cochin's trial was over. Apparently, a man in black made off with the most important piece of evidence. Then, the evidence had been tampered with. Isn't it just like a criminal to do something like that? The smuggling ring been run out of the Mono group by one of his secretaries. I mean, we know it wasn't by one of the secretaries. That's not true. We also know that that the person, there was like a corrupt prosecutor in the prosecutor's area, so I think maybe the prosecutor stole it and blamed it on the thief. They bailed Mr. Cochin out. Turns out they were in league with each other all along. How big was that smuggling ring? Was it a large operation? I don't really know. Which is why I wanted to become the lead defense on this case that people are calling the second KG8 incident. But I haven't learned anything new at all. I was probably expecting too much, I know. You mean you think this case has nothing to do with the smuggling ring? Oh, it definitely does. I don't know what to think. Why did Mr. Cochin want to meet with you earlier? Actually, he came to watch the trial. Apparently, he only found out that I was the defense lawyer on this case after he arrived. He figured he should say hi. And one other thing. Looks like you couldn't resolve anything this time either. Too bad. Wow! Manny sounds awful. I hate him. What's that supposed to mean? Oh boy, stop it with the scary face already. I'm fine, really. I gave him a good slap across the face. The way she talks about slapping him as she laughs away is kinda creepy. Maybe because she's a murderer. But it's just as Mr. Bad said. He's not related to the double murder. 'Cause I am. Or, better to say, you are. I asked around and people in the gallery claim he was in his seat the entire time. Talk about cruel fate. Well, this is about all I know. Sorry. Guess I wasn't much help, huh? That's not true. I'm sorry I made you recall such a painful time in your life. Edgeworth, you really are too serious for your own good. You really need to learn to relax. We wouldn't want you to die of stress, would we? You need to die of other causes, like metaphorically die for failing your best friend. Well, best friend. Thank you for the advice, but there's no need to worry. I work in my own way, and I will catch this criminal in my own way as well. You'll see. Look at you with your game face on, ready to go. I'm making no such face. Did you know laughter is the best medicine, Edgeworth? Don't you get tired of making such a serious face all the time? Don't you ever get tired of being nice? Don't you ever just want to go away from him? I'm charged with making sure that all of the criminals of this world are found guilty. I have no need for laughter. Sad life under Von Karma. There you go again, making that face again. Oh well. Don't worry, his smile will be returned later in life. I've got to get going. I still have a few loose ends I need to tie up. She's so sus. I'm just gonna say it. The KG8 incident and this murder investigation. It is my belief that these two cases are related to each other somehow. Plus, that detective, Detective Gumshoe, doesn't deserve this. It's obvious he's lying, even though the lie is hurting his chances. Clearly, this case is far from over. Whether or not that detective is the murderer can only be determined once I've completed my perfect investigation. Mr. Von Karma. Ugh. I swear to uphold your honorable name, or my name isn't Miles Edgeworth. I hate Von Karma. Hate this stupid man. Stupid, evil man. But with that, I think it's getting kinda late.